Can you hear us okay, Amy?
Hi, Amy. Hi, Crystal. I think Crystal's on there. Please.
So
I thought that I saw her name pop up. I felt like it said that she declined like being a panelist. I don't know. I don't know what that means. So anyway,
Well, means that she won't be able to,
like we'll be able to see her.
yeah, or talk. and
Yeah.
She requested
When Zach comes back, I'll have him.
an accident.
Zach, it looked like Crystal like declined being a panelist. Okay. 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 And then I thought I saw Crystal's name, but maybe she logged off. I don't know. Okay. So you said Rebecca's on there. You said Michael's on there. Oh, okay. Got it.
seeing that.
Oh yeah, there's Crystal.
Yeah, sorry, I was having issues earlier.
Oh, that's okay. And then it's like Glenn is on and Michael. Okay. Looks like we're all here or there. So I'll call the meeting to order. What time is it? What does that say? 32? 6:32? Or 5:32? Like, or no. That's right. That's right. That's it's your brain. But you've been there. No. All right, calling to order. Don't see any public here to make any comments, so we will move along. I know Anna is doing the minutes, but I don't think, did she send anything in? And we don't have anything for the packet yet.
Yeah, no minutes submitted yet.
So I had the time and I went to start them this weekend. I couldn't find them online. I emailed Zachary. He answered immediately Monday with the link because it wasn't posted online on the website yet. And I'm working on them now.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and I double check that it is live streaming to YouTube, so we should be good next go around.
For next time. Okay,
Yep.
good deal. Thank
Okay.
you for your help on that.
Okay.
All right, well, trucking right along. I know
Allison?
ask Glenn to attend. Oh, Glenn, were you trying to speak? Sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna, I can't see who all's in the city hall.
Oh, I have Nancy, Aaliyah, myself, Nate, Fred, and Zach.
Okay, great. Can't tell. It's so small a picture.
That's okay. Sorry, I know. And we're like sort of, you did make the cameras nice, so Anyway, so I had asked Glenn to attend a housing meeting at Palmer Lake. And I was going to ask if he could give any updates on that. And I also learned that Nate had attended as well. So I'm putting you on the floor here to see if you have anything to share about that meeting and what you learned.
Sure. Both Nate and I were there. It was a good meeting, lots of information, almost overwhelming. The one company, Corporation Grescio Housing, boy, they're really impressive what they've done. Um, they One statistic they said was they probably have more um, dollar value in public housing than any other organization or even the city in Colorado Springs. Um, Now I know Colorado Springs City doesn't want to get into the housing kind of stuff, so maybe that not such a great statistic, but it still seemed to be pretty impressive. I think both Nate and I felt that it would be good to have them come speak to the housing board at some point. Maybe they've already done that in years gone by. I don't know. One of the things that I got out of it though was I think we need to spend some time as a group brainstorming what could be possible public housing locations in Manitou because um, I don't know. I mean, they were doing some pretty big projects, and I don't think we have geography to do those kind of big projects. But I'm having trouble trying to figure it out where might be places in Manitou that would be suitable for public housing. So that was one of the things I got out of it was that, hey, we need to do some educating, brainstorming among ourselves as to what could be possibilities and go from there. Maybe Nate has more to add to that.
No, that's really well said. The only thing I'd postscript it by is, so Randy spoke, who spoke to this group. And so we learned a lot during the session with her and Aaron. So there's a little bit of a repeat, some new information. And they're really actively trying to allocate the money that they have in the Housing Trust Fund. I mean, it's pretty clear they're looking for people to apply. So to Glenn's point, I think it'd be good. Lee Patke, that was the first time I'd seen him present. I'd echo what Glenn said, very impressive. The idea that a nonprofit has a real estate portfolio with a valuation of close to $150 million. I think they have 900 residential units. It's pretty stunning. Any other key takeaways? No, I think those were the big data points from our end.
The other thing that impressed me was, excuse me, I was figuring there'd be a handful of folks there, but there were like probably 40 or 50 people
Mhm.
at this. And I didn't know that many people would be involved in public housing in the county.
Cool. Yeah, I appreciate you both going. And can't remember what year it was, but we did take time. Aaliyah was on the board. Nancy probably. Were you? I don't think, I think it was a different, yeah. We had met and went around and looked at different available lots. Because at that time we were even looking at like, Aaliyah and I had met with Rocky Mountain Community Land Trust about like seeing if there could be any partnerships where the city either already had a parcel of land that they owned, and then perhaps it could get put into a land trust and then used to like develop some type of even small scale housing opportunities. I don't know, Aaliyah, do you have anything else to add on that or more detail?
Yeah, totally. We had the same, we've we've had the same thoughts in the past, and unfortunately, the outcome of our research and our communication with potential partners hasn't led to much. So we have brought Grescio and Lee into Manitou before, and they toured some of, I don't remember what properties it was, but it was on the East End and in the am I forgetting the name of the district? Well, it was Cheyenne Village, but then also some of the other hotels that were in the URA. Yeah, thank you. And their feedback was that the hotels that were up were not in the condition where they could rehab them and then rent them at a rate that is affordable. That isn't to say that there can't be another property that comes on the market in the future that wouldn't be a good opportunity, right? Like that certainly is something that could happen that we should keep an eye on. What we were focused on is, the properties that were on the market at that time, and then any city-owned properties. So we did, like Allison said, went through an exercise of looking at all of the properties that were city-owned to see if there was any potential there was something that could be developed with a partnership with either, some sort of affordable housing developer. And the outcome was that they're all just really, really small. And so there's not much, or they're large, but they're on a hillside that would be really challenging to develop on. So I think like our best bet is when there are these other properties that are coming up on the market, to make sure that we are in communication with, Grescio and others. And maybe there will be some new opportunities with like Prop 123 and other funding that may be coming up.
Yeah, Leah raises a great point, and Glenn, you probably remember this. Lee was pretty clear, and it was a bit discouraging that the rehab and remodeling of existing structures, they don't even really focus on it right now. So all of their new development projects are ground up. I still think there's an opportunity to your point, but it's going to take a lot of homework and additional research. So.
Any other questions for Glenn or Nate on that meeting what was it like? Was it a half day thing or?
No, it was only like an hour and a half.
It was just an hour and a half?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was a good meeting, but I mean, yeah, it wasn't.
Got it. Okay, awesome. Thank you for doing that. And then Nate, I'm sort of again putting you here on the spot, but I know you had connected to a couple of additional people just sort of in your roundabouts that you had said to me, hey, these might be future speakers for HAB?
Absolutely. And I don't know the history, so I appreciate you being open to us having guests
please.
here. And so I'm trying to just ramp up as much as I can. So I'm attending, and for instance, I saw Crystal yesterday. It was a great surprise at the CDAC meeting in Colorado Springs, the Community Development Action Committee. And you all know Amy, who runs that and sort of oversees that effort. And a gentleman who I know through Rotary, and I knows Allison, Wayne Bland. So he sits on the board of a really interesting homeless focused nonprofit called The Place. And maybe you all know this, but him and The Place and a larger network of developers have put together this amazing 50-unit project called the Launchpad Initiative. Is anyone aware of this? It's quite amazing. So when I'm just getting to know Wayne a little bit, and I said, would you be open? And I asked Allison if she would be okay with Wayne joining, and he expressed interest just to share all of the knowledge that went into that. Some of that may be applicable. And then the other person who was open and was Lee to come back and visit. And it sounds like you've already interacted, and maybe over the last couple of years since your last interaction, perhaps he has additional insight and information, because it's a kind of a changing landscape, and he was open to coming or just having any kind of discussions, as part of kind of a learning / listening tour. So. And for instance, I was just out in Fountain. There's another economic development kind of 2-hour symposium there, and it was interesting. They were mainly focused on enterprise zones, which is largely geared towards for-profit businesses and the funding potential there. And so, yeah, there's like a really interesting ecosystem and of all of these different but sort of equally passionate groups in my little, I'm in the crawl, walk, run phase. That's just my quick impression of what I'm seeing. So hope that helps.
Yeah, I think it absolutely helps, and I'd be open to any of those people coming to talk. Like with, I hope I didn't mean to sound down about kind of coordinating with Grescio earlier. I think I totally agree that they are a big player in that area in the region, and maintaining a relationship with them is probably really good for us to learn from him, and also for him to kind of continue to be aware of what's happening in Manitou, and maybe what see some opportunities that we don't see, even if perhaps it's not for Grescio, but for somebody else.
Anyone on the screen have thoughts about having additional speakers come, and what we would either, like Aaliyah said, would we be presenting sort of our landscape again and then trying to seek ideas, or would we be wanting them to share? Or I guess it could all happen in that type of platform. Amy?
Yeah, I'm just curious what Nancy's thoughts are, like mostly because we advise city council. What would what is the city council seeking us to know, or be experts on? And if it's available land or properties or public or private partnerships, or is it ADUs?
Yeah, I would say that council is looking to the HAB to come to the council to give recommendations. It's not a topic that council discusses except when it's in Plan Manitou or something. So, but my question was going to be this Colorado Springs Regional Housing Assessment with El Paso County. Have they approached Manitou at all about it, since Manitou is included in that?
Yes, they have. And I think Denise and I are the main contacts for them. And so we're getting the information. I attended one kickoff meeting, it was about a month or so ago. And so we'll be able to have that information to keep the HAB updated on what they're doing and their progress.
So how long is that anticipated to last? When do they expect to have a product? That's okay if you don't know.
I'm not sure. I think this summer.
Oh, okay. So fairly quickly, because
I believe so.
I think that might really inform some of these other issues.
What's happening is my understanding is most of the money that's paying for this is coming from El Paso County and the city of Colorado Springs.
Right.
And they are essentially moving forward with this regional housing assessment, and we're all the other municipalities are kind of piggybacking on it. So what we're going to get is data and
Right.
information.
Right.
they're going to move forward. An additional step that they're providing the city of Colorado Springs and El Paso County are recommendations, but they're not providing recommendations to the other municipalities. They're
that's
just
unfortunate.
providing us with data.
Yeah. Anyway, I know that if you and Denise are the Manitou points of contact, however, I personally think it would be interesting if Amy Cox were to come, and it'd be kind of fun to have Amy back in the building.
Okay. Okay.
She, if you don't know, Fred, she used to be a city councilor here in Manitou.
Okay. Okay.
So she's very well known here.
Okay. Yeah, I'll check that out.
All right, well, maybe that's what we do is we hold that. We know that those two people, and I'm sure many others are available. And maybe we just, you know, wait and sort of see what it is that we want to be focusing on, and then what sort of like expertise we want to do. Cause I know I'll grab you just in a minute, Crystal. When we met, like sort of going over our goals, we need to sort of go back and look to see again where we are. And then maybe we plant one of them or both of them in an area that we are sort of like digging into, that maybe they could help guide us. Crystal?
Yeah, I was just thinking, so I think we'd want to invite Katie Sunderland as well as Amy, because she has been doing a lot of the work, like they do it together, but Katie's kind of led the charge on that housing assessment. And I have lots of printouts, but everybody is invited to do, oh, you can't see it. I'll have to email it to Fred to see about getting it out, but all of El Paso County can complete the housing needs assessment. And so the more people that we can get to respond, the better the assessment is going to be. So I'm happy to share that. And I can also help with connecting with Amy and Katie. I think it's supposed to be fully complete by like July. I know you said June. I think there's a little bit still coming after that, but I'm wondering if maybe trying to get them in August or early fall could be a good time to have them come in. So there's been a little bit of time to process some of the housing needs assessment and then come prepared with some questions for them. Just a thought.
Crystal, are you saying there's a survey that like just any community members filling out, like asking what types of questions are they asking?
So it's asking, what kind of housing does your household have? What kind of housing is best for your household? How much is your household spending on to maintain your housing? And then a lot of questions about what do you think are the concerns in our community around housing affordability? What do you think some solutions are? It probably takes 15 minutes to complete it, but I took the survey today. It's definitely a good survey. And yeah, I know I work for the city, so it's a mix of things, but I feel like even people, like, it's for anybody in El Paso County. They need it from all of the municipalities, all of the places, that maybe are just El Paso County, for a better analysis. So I think it's one of those things that, yes, they're taking the primary, but we will be able to reap some benefits out of it. Even if we're not getting the suggestions, I think there's going to be a lot of good information that we can glean and learn from and kind of move forward with.
That's great. I wonder if I'm sort of jumping ahead into the next agenda item, and I don't remember if we're on. I think we're actually like on a June schedule, but I know the bulletin had said that anytime we had content, they'd be willing to try to get it in sooner. And I wonder if sort of following the article that Anna had about like community voices, then we add like, hey, now everyone could have a community voice by filling this out to be part of this, sort of build on that housing. And maybe Crystal, you could help, with
Yeah.
it. You don't have to be the one that's, if you don't want your name on it or whatever, but, or if someone has time, Nate or Glenn or,
I
someone
probably have, I could probably do that pretty easily.
could do that, Crystal.
I could do that pretty easily, I think. And I can get with Amy.
Maybe.
We can work
Okay,
on it.
yeah, you guys, because I think it would be a really cool like build because of the way that article was written and talking about like the benefits. And then you could say, hey, now everybody has an opportunity to have their voice heard.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely. Brilliant.
that's awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna put you, and then like I said, if it's timely, Amy, I know has the contacts there at the bulletin, could ask if it could come in sooner because when are they wanting to, when does that survey end?
I am not seeing an end date on the survey, but I can go look and find out real quick.
Okay, and then you don't have to find out right now, but
Okay.
that's where you and Amy can then coordinate with the bulletin on if we could get it in for like May, if it's a timely thing. And I'll just leave it to you all. Does that sound good to everyone? I don't think it's a voting thing, really. I think it's just yay, thank you for your help and checking off like 2 items on our agenda. So that's awesome. Thank you. Anyone else have thoughts about that content that we learned about the regional housing assessment? And then again, like I said, maybe let's just wait and see what happens with that information and then pull in some of these great resources that Nate has found and Crystal knows. So sound good? All right. Thank you. Well, then jumping right ahead, last month when we had Randy and Aaron here, we had talked about wanting to learn a little bit more about like the mobile home project and opportunities available. I did a little digging, but clearly I didn't get enough to like actually put anything out in a packet to share. And I'm sure I'm like looking at other people. So Crystal.
Yeah, I honestly forgot about it. So during my lunch break, I tried to do a quick search and I went to the county assessor's office and got information. Um, but like, I think one of the really cool things, I know Nancy, I feel like at the last meeting, Nancy had connections with the park owner to maybe have a conversation. Like, it feels like maybe we need to find out if they're interested in doing anything first. One of the two great companies that are out there doing the residential owned community work to help a mobile home park instead of becoming sort of like unionizing the mobile home park, where then the residents then do the governance of it. And there's a lot of work that goes into it. And so there's two companies out there that really work with getting the residents engaged with that. And they even have some funding as well to help with the financing of that. So I can look more into that, but I also am just leery of us jumping too far without talking to the people who run it.
Yeah, and I was just thinking maybe we at least try to gain at least like, it's sort of like how we used to say with like a little quick sheet about Prop 123 when we were trying to like inform developers. Like I would just want to get a better idea of how to articulate it to them to say
Yeah.
like, this is what we learned that some cities or some areas have done. This is something that maybe could happen here. And then have that discussion with
Okay.
a manager or another person, find the right balance and opportunity for that conversation. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a meeting. It could be just a conversation, right?
Yeah.
We can just have conversation.
Yeah.
We can just have
I'm happy to keep working on it. I'm sorry that I was not on top of it this month.
What's that, Crystal?
I'm happy to keep working on it, and I'm sorry I was not on top of it this last month.
No, I wasn't either.
Um,
So it's like, it was like then, and here we are. And there seemed to be no days in between, but yes, Nancy.
Thanks. I had mentioned that I had heard this great briefing last year at the Colorado Municipal League Conference. And I wasn't able to find the briefing, but I did contact it was in Montrose. So I contacted the city administrator there. She has not contacted me back yet. But the couple of things that stood out was that they had a new owner come in and buy this one trailer park. And when he showed pictures of it, it looked exactly like our trailer park currently looks. I mean, exactly. Did he kind of manage to take those pictures? And then he showed the after pictures and it was night and day. And he said that you can't have predatory landlords, which I think is one of the issues probably at this trailer park. He said the code is very important. So I don't know, that's something we probably need to look at, is what our code says for trailer parks or mobile home parks, whatever you want to call them. You know, he was saying things like sheds and porches they don't allow because there's such fire risks. And if you go to this trailer park, they're everywhere. So I don't know if code enforcement has been in there in a long time or not, but it's anyway. So I will continue to pursue what goes on in Montrose and how successful they were with this. And it came about because of a very good relationship between the buyer of the trailer park and the city. So that if I can get that, I think that'll be very, very helpful. But I know the previous manager of the trailer park that we discussed.
Yeah.
And I've not talked with him.
Okay.
So, but I think it would be very helpful to get, and I don't know, Fred, have you ever talked to the owner of that trailer park? I think it would be worthwhile for maybe a couple of you to go and talk with him. And do you have access to that information? Or, I can get that. I can find it.
Okay, yeah, I'm not, off the top of my head, I'm not sure where to find it. I'm sure I could.
Yeah,
someplace.
Just the
I'm pretty sure
county
we-
assessors search, you could see who owns it.
Well,
right?
and Rick will know. Rick Hudson will know.
I
So-
can I can email you the county assessor's office information. If that would be helpful. And it's interesting, Nancy, I recommend you go look up the website. I'll share that as well with Fred.
Okay, got it. Nancy, what did you say the name of the conference where you learned about the Montrose thing?
Colorado Municipal League.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do any other board members have interest in sort of digging into this in your, spare time? I know Crystal said she would.
I'm happy to sort of co-team with Crystal. And it raises one point, and maybe you've done this before. My impression in attending a lot of these symposiums now is that there's so much attention on affordable housing, and these sort of subject or domain areas are really starting to take shape. And maybe that's always been the case with residential housing, mobile parks, senior housing, workforce housing. Does it make sense to kind of have people assigned to a particular area where they can kind of go deep as we kind of build our collective knowledge? It's just a thought, because the level of complexity I feel is things are going pretty deep. in each one of these swim lanes. So it's just an idea. But I'm happy to help on the mobile park thing, and I'll build a little subject matter expertise in that space.
That's awesome. And I think like it's that like with Manitou, we just have to find those like creative sort of solutions because as we said, we don't have a lot of like land for development. So we want to think about like, you know, later on, we're going to be talking here about ADUs again, but I think the mobile home park thing is something important. So it's more like that's sort of, I think, where we've got to, like, I understand what you mean about that there's all those different sort of lanes, but trying to think within those lanes, what are those little, like, small little maybe potential wins we could get within our, city
For sure.
and be able to serve all those, like, because it could be, there's probably are a lot of seniors that live at that. I don't know. I'm sort of guessing, making that up. Maybe I'm sure there's families. I don't know.
No, but I mean, to your point, it's just ADUs become its own thing, and there's all sorts of information around that particular domain. Senior housing, this is an area where Lee, is expert. I just don't want to over and commit to too many of those lanes, but if Crystal and I partner to really understand where the potential creative opportunities are in mobile parks, maybe there's operating models out there, as Nancy was saying, and then if someone else wanted to take the ADUs and someone wanted to take workforce housing, and that's just it's just a thought.
No.
So
I hear you. And why I brought up, again, as we're just cruising along into it's a nice flow of our conversation on the agenda. We have historically, Aaliyah and I, being most familiar, did a lot of work in looking at ADUs and different sort of opportunities because there's all sorts. There's like attached and detached and like lots of different sort of opportunities. So we have a lot of good knowledge on that one. And then I don't know, people on the screen besides like the mobile home and then the ADU, or were there other like opportunities that we wanted to look at, Amy?
Yeah, I didn't know where to fit this in the meeting, but I was kind of disappointed to hear, Nate, that they were saying, no rehab to any existing facilities, because when we did get Prop 123 voted by council, that was the biggest, what I could see and hear, and Allison was there with me and so was Nancy, but that seemed to be their biggest, like, oh, okay, if that's what it's going to do, then that would work for Manitou. Because we do have a lot of age in place. We don't have a lot of, space to build. And then we have height challenges on the books as well. And so I was thinking about just aging in place as an article. I do think that this other survey article can kind of bump this article, but something came up when I was like researching just like different things you can do. And it was kind of like micro grants, like what we do with the energy efficiency program. And so it was like micro grants to, for instance, add in ramps or, shower supports or tub supports or little things that can keep people in their places for longer, on the same level, or like rehabbing a primary bedroom downstairs, something like that, and then renting upstairs in these little micro grants. And that to me is kind of like what we have to do is like, yeah, we know senior housing, we know aging in place, we know the city isn't going to do public housing. So what can we do with a limited budget here and really no staff time? To me, that's kind of the like, look at the big picture and then kind of, and so even like a 10,000 dollar grant, something like that, or even if we took 5,000 from the energy efficiency, because that's not really moving right now, to something like that. That's like, to me, the creative solutions that we are, I think, are looking for, but also council is looking for.
And Amy, just to clarify, to make sure, because maybe I should have been clearer about this, that there is funding available through like the county for rehab. I think what Lee was saying as part of Gratio, because they're in the real estate development business, that when they look at the economics of doing these, it just nets out where the incentives are for them. It's just better to just build from scratch. But
No,
so
yeah, I got that impression from our speakers as well, and from the community as well. It's not just from you, but it's kind of like, okay, this is the third, fourth time we're hearing that. It seems
Gotcha.
like the funding is not going towards that right now. It's going to the bigger umbrella, bigger projects. And that's, we're used to that in Manatee.
Crystal, go ahead.
There's a group that is called Brothers Redevelopment that they do a lot of that rehab for aging in place, Amy. And so that could be another one of those groups to potentially come in to talk with us to see like how much of a micro grant, what could we get for that kind of money? I think that's brilliant. Because I'm with you. Like that's where doing some of that rehab when we have so many homes that really need a lot of work to maintain their habitability. And yeah, I think that's a really interesting way to go. And because just because the fundings aren't currently going there, doesn't mean that we couldn't get them to go there. It might be a benefit for us that this is, oh, look, they're going to do something vastly different. Yeah.
So I would like to say that Brothers Redevelopment came into the rental that I live in Manitou Springs currently within the last 6 months, and they did some handrails down to our basement on our front steps for my husband's, like in the back. They did a really good job. We had a good experience. So
We worked with Brothers Redevelopment on the first iteration of the energy efficiency program. They were actually the implementer. And they were a good partner. They eventually, after a year, decided that it was they just couldn't support kind of they were administering it, and there wasn't a lot of activity as there isn't now. And although they had 3 or 4 projects come through, but they just decided that they couldn't keep that on their books. But that's a piece of, we were partnering with them on energy efficiency, which is a piece of what they do. And you're right that they do a lot more in housing, and they have a lot of different, I think, flows of funding to support different types of upgrades. And so last time, and I mean, it was years ago, that we tried to reach out to them. I think all of the contacts that we had moved on. So I don't think we, the HAB have an active contact, but others may. I'm sure we can find out who to connect with.
That's great. Good things again to think about. And yeah, that's Anna, that's awesome that they came and did all of that work. And as Aaliyah said, it's been years that we've engaged with them. So that could be another opportunity for that like rehab piece, which yes, Amy, I remember like different people like saying, yes, if we could do, some rehab to whether it was a conversion of the apartment or something else, that was a big thing they were really holding on to. So keep looking.
Well, and we know you ladies were just ahead of the curve years ago, okay? Maybe the curve is just catching up.
Yeah, and changes of resources and people, like that's, it's always good to circle back, just like we said with Lee, maybe he's learned of different opportunities and resources that could still apply here. So. Good. All right. ADUs, I had asked planning to update. I know that at least last time we met or the month before, I understood that the planning what's it called? Committee? The planning commission was going to be working on some of this, and we had said we wanted to be involved if able. So take it away.
Oh, thank you. I do not have much of an update, but yes, we are, staff is proposing to bring an agenda item to the planning commission during their May meeting to discuss the ADUs and talk about the alternatives that are available. And to get going and get something, get the planning commission to provide a recommendation to city council. I'm not exactly sure how long it will take, but I'm telling everybody I'm committed to make sure that both planning commission and city council have as much time as they need to make an informed and a good decision. There's an effective date on that legislation, the ADU legislation of June 30th, that as of June 30th, ADUs are automatically permitted. And I'm currently working with our legal counsel to make sure that I understand what actually happens on June 30th, but I don't want that to influence the city's ability to make good code and good regulations. So with that said, we're starting with the Planning Commission in May. There's some legal options and some legal issues that I need to communicate with them first. So again, I'm working with legal counsel on that, and then talk about potential alternatives. So I can keep the HAB informed. I think the HAB can provide advisement or recommendation, or you can provide comments to the planning commission and city council on drafts or options and things like that. So I'll keep the HAB updated.
Thank you for that. So a couple of just clarifying questions. So is the next step with the planning commission, you said getting them to make a recommendation, would that recommendation be, would that include specifics about what an ADU ordinance would look like? I'm guessing no, given the timing, or is it just to proceed down a particular path?
I think first of all, it's to proceed down a particular path.
Mm-hmm.
And then understanding what path the planning commission wants to go in, then we can explore more options as to, okay, what does an ADU code look like? What things are important to include in an ADU code or an ADU regulation? Things like setbacks, assuring that ADUs need to meet building code and habitability code and so on and so forth. There's a lot of things, a lot of considerations to think about. But yeah, there's some overarching issues that the planning commission needs to decide on first, and that's where we get into legal issues that I can't get into right now.
Thanks. I would personally love to be more proactively involved. Maybe I can pick up the ADU mantle. And actually make some suggestions about an ordinance when we get to that point. as you know, we did back many years ago come up with a draft ordinance, and I'm sure it's not, yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of work that needs to be done to that. But I would like to dust that off. And I think there's probably some good things that we could learn from that process. California went through a number of years back. They passed a law that allows ADUs by right. And since then, there's been a lot of ADUs built there. And in my work, I interact with them quite often in California. And so have some experience with that, how that went and how different jurisdictions have dealt with it in California.
Do you have a copy of that draft ordinance?
I will find it and share it. Absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yes. Lindsay?
Aaliyah, do you also have the copy, and planning should also have this, but it was probably about 5 years ago that the very early on when the land use development code was being developed, the same contractor did a briefing for council on ADUs, which I thought was very good, got solidly shot down at the time. But it was, I think several council members have become more sensitive and understanding that ADUs are important to pay attention to. So it should be in the planning files, but it should be in the HAB files somewhere as well. And I'm thinking it's about 5 years ago.
What was the contractor's name? Do you remember?
I don't remember her name, but it was the people who did the land use development
Right.
code for us. And it
Yeah.
was very early in that process.
I bet at that, we could find it probably in the old minutes somewhere
Be our little packet.
in one of the packets. Yeah, it was great because that's where they did like dig into sort of those differences where, like, again, in Manitou, like, we're not talking about, like, again, everyone can have one. Every area isn't appropriate for it. And the places, again, another aging in place conversation, people that are in large homes in, different areas of our city, could rehab a garage space where the single person that's aging in place might be able to, live. Well, then they're renting their larger space. And it's a great way to like allow, new families, new renters to come into our community and then have the space. It's just like a flip of space. Like maybe the resident, the homeowner lives in the ADU and then again, renting out their place and maybe not having a vehicle. So not needing another parking spot, or like in some neighborhoods, similar to like our neighborhoods, there would be more opportunities where people could park. There's multiple parking spaces and an opportunity for an ADU. So I think it really could work in our city. And yeah, the HAB did a lot of work on it already.
Lots of work. And the final briefing that the contractor did should also be in the council packet, and the minutes from the council should also address it. So
Yeah. And I'd be on that arm, what'd you call it? Mantle. What's that? ADU. And whoever, like that, Glenn I might dabble around, have him come, whatever. We'll all have a little part in this. So any other thoughts on ADU from people on the screen? Nate?
For what it's worth, my prior town where Vanessa and I moved from, they went with the ADU model with the senior housing. There's an age requirement, and so I'm happy to check in to see how that beta test is going.
That's great. And yeah, I think there are lots of different opportunities and models. I mean, there's even, I don't know if I had mentioned to you or just maybe friends of conversation, like I know there are some cities that like they have incentivized, like if someone is building an affordable house or an ADU for a certain amount of time, they have to make it eligible for someone of a, you know, below 50% AMI, or maybe someone with a voucher, or, you know, some kind of way to, again, increase affordable housing on a small scale. And then the city, again, would, in these examples, they like reduce like a tap fee or some license fee or something as a way to say, we as a city opted into Prop 123 because we want to increase affordability. So one way we're going to do it, since we don't have a lot of land, is maybe we give people that have the ability to build an ADU an incentive so that they can then make it affordable. So lots of opportunities. So thank you all.
So Fred, when is the planning commission meeting that this is going to be presented at? May?
Yes, it'll be in May, the second Wednesday in May.
Okay, that might be interesting to it.
Yeah, would that be like, again, with the information we have, would you want us to try to get that to you before, or would we?
Oh, if you could, if you could get that to me as soon as possible, that would be great. So I know or understand. And thank you for helping me. I'm sure it's in our files someplace. But if you're able to get that to me sooner than I can find it, that would be very, very helpful.
Yeah, I'll look. I have a bunch of stuff from like Corrine Toll. It's paper, like, so I'll even go through there, see if I see anything, but.
Yeah, I
Okay.
can.
I'll take a first look in our files, and we should at least have the ordinance there. I'm not sure if we'll have I think we may need to go through kind of some of the old online packets to find that presentation. But that was great you brought that up because I had forgotten about that. That was good.
Excellent. All right. Well, we have made lots of progress and have people assigned to different things. So I think that was successful. We don't have old business. Next, we move into reports. Nancy, do you have anything for us?
Sure, just a quick update of things that council's been up to or not up to, as the case might be. Tomorrow night at 4:30, there's the water tank. The new water tank will be the ribbon cutting for that. It's going to be at Higginbotham Flats, which is, you can see the water tank from there across the canyon. But anyway, that should be interesting. Hopefully the weather will hold. Fred, you're probably going to talk about Plan Manitou, that was approved last night, so that's exciting. We implemented a 20-mile-per-hour speed limit in all residential neighborhoods, so get ready, that's lots of fun. And approved the Dillon contract to do the temporary parking lot in there, so that'll be happening. The restrooms and parking office will be renovated, but they won't be ready till September, I think, but the parking lot will be pretty well done by June. So even though it's just a dirt parking lot, it'll still be ready to go. We approved all the slate of match grants that came through, so that was exciting. And we also approved Schneider Electric to, are you familiar with them, Aaliyah? Schneider Electric? There's a program within the state under their energy office, whereby a city can contract with, in this case, Schneider Electronic, and they come in and do an evaluation and assessment of how much you can save if you can reduce your energy costs and through environmental factors. And then they'll provide a loan to you, guaranteed that you'll get the payback. So two of the things that we did, all these windows will be replaced. We'll go to LED lighting in the buildings around the city. And most importantly, we're getting all new water meters, which will be huge because we're losing a lot of water, or we're not properly accounting for water, let me put it that way. So that's huge and very, very expensive. So those are just some exciting things that we've been doing over the past few weeks. Thanks.
That's great. Thank you. Do you all have anything else planning department updates for us?
Trying to think. No, you did. No, that's good. Yep. That's right. That's right. City Council also approved there was it was a very large project. It was, we called it the city parcel rezoning project, but there's a number of city-owned parcels. You might have received, a postcard in the mail, about it, but there's a number of city-owned parcels that, the city has acquired over time and hadn't rezoned them for their intended purpose or intended function. And so we went through all of those parcels that were not zoned appropriately, recommended a zoning designation or a zoning district for them, and then took them through the public hearing process. City Council did their second reading last night and approved of them. Yeah, 57 parcels. So it was good. Well, and my predecessor also did a lot of work on that too. So I have to give credit to Hannah. So oh yeah, so most of the parcels were zoned for open space, primarily because there's not a specific purpose or use for them, and that they are valued for their open space value. There was also about 5 or so parcels that were zoned to parks for park purpose, and a handful of a little bit more, maybe a couple handfuls of parcels zoned for public facilities. They're being used for various facilities, mostly like stormwater retention, detention, and things like that.
And it was primarily rezoned from high, what is it called? Slope, residential. I can't think of HDLR or something, general residential and so on. So it was primarily from those designations into the open space, public works and parks. So it's cool.
I think that's all we have right now.
I just want to say, for it with Schneider Electric, we're getting new HVAC in here as well, which will be huge. So.
Does anyone else have reports or anything else to share? No. All right. Well, thank you all. I think we accomplished quite a bit this meeting, and we're adjourning at what does that say? 6:32. Wow, right on the hour. Way to go. Thank you everyone for your time, and see you next time. Reach out with questions. Bye.